All right, my friends, happy Saturday. We'll get started here in just a second. First of all, my sincerest apologies for those of you who waited last night for a live Linux A-Team. I really tried. We had it scheduled for 8:30, but by the time we got the team in place, it was like 9:30, like almost an hour later, and I didn't expect any of you to stick around waiting that long. I mean, I wouldn't. That being said, I really did try. So what we did, we recorded a Linux A-Team well, it was a private chat. Did the editing late last night to get this ready for today. A thousand thanks, mille grazie to Dan, Joe, and Ron for making this possible, and of course to all of these supporters out there, on PayPal and Patreon and the rest of you. You know who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, from last night, those of you that waited, I am so sorry. I tried, and yeah, it just wasn't meant to be last night. However, we recorded this segment here. It's ready to go. Our thoughts on a national Linux desktop standard for the masses. My base for this was there was an interview a few years ago of Linus Torvalds, who is considered the father of Linux. And he stated that the failure of the Linux desktop was because of fragmentation, which he found a personal annoyance, if I remember what he said. And he believes that Chromebooks have done very well, in part because they are a standard, a Linux standard, but he wanted more. So based on that, I listed 5 points on how on a successful mass market Linux desktop for the mom and pop. So once again, thank you, Dan, Joe, and Ron. I will keep track of the chat here as I'm doing chores, to be perfectly honest. So here we go. Linux A-Team, a national Linux desktop standard. Hello and welcome back to another Linux A-Team. But first, a quick joke. What do birds do before they hit the gym? They do worm-ups. Okay, well, that's our show tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Right.
Next week. We're just not in sync tonight. We're supposed to do this live, and anyway, I finally got my 3 members of the Linux A-Team an hour later, or whatever. So we're just going to record this, and my joke fell flat. So notice this is not the joke A-Team.
Yes.
Anyway, we have Joey, who's dressed in red, I think, or orange or something.
It was red.
Okay, it's red. We got Ron, who's shrunk a little bit. And then we have Dan. So, yeah, so tonight, and of course myself, Toss, as I'm called, we're going to talk, and this is a topic that's been on my mind ever since. It had to be last year, because I think last year I saw an interview of Linus Torvalds, who is considered the father of Linux, of modern-day Linux. He was asked about Linux desktop for the masses, and he says it's pretty much been a failure, according to him, because of fragmentation. He loves Chromebooks. They work, but they're not enough. Pretty much what I've been saying. Chromebooks are great, but I wanted something more. So he says because of fragmentation, which he called a personal annoyance. Those are his words, not mine. In the last 25 plus years, that's why there has not been a true Linux desktop for the masses besides Chromebooks, according to the interview. Anyway, so I actually wrote down with an actual old-fashioned pen notes my 5 steps for a model, a blueprint for a successful mass-marketed Linux desktop. These are just my personal thoughts, and my friends here may have different thoughts. And I think a cool name for the desktop should be Constellation OS. It has a nice ring to it, but those are my thoughts.
Spacey, man.
Spacey, that's right. Okay.
Very
Briefly.
Star Trekky.
Yes. Well, I'm watching Star Trek on Paramount Plus and the new Halo. By the way, for Halo fans, check out the new Halo on Paramount Plus. It's only $4.99 a month. This is not a sponsored video or anything like that, but I think it's worth $5 a month.
How many episodes are down? One or more?
They done a total of 9. At
And
a
you've
cost of
seen them?
$90 million. So they spent $10 million per episode. So it shows. It looks slick. It looks slick. Again, for the Halo fans. And maybe they're using Linux for the special effects. I'll have to do some research. I don't know,
You
All
know,
right.
Possible.
they do have a lot of Linux software now that works, in that department for creators and stuff like that.
Yes, right. Because they have more control over it, I think. That's it. But I really don't know what they use. But I will find out.
Blender, Inkscape, and then there's a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I think Steven Spielberg is part of that production, so I'm sure he went with only the best, whatever that means. All right, my 5 steps for a successful standard Linux desktop for the mom and pops. Number 1, Linux needs one voice, meaning one Linux OS voice. And I think it should be based on either Ubuntu or Arch because those two have rather large repositories for software. So it should be based on either Ubuntu or Arch, in my opinion. Does it really matter in the end? Probably not. But since I am familiar with those two, I'm more Ubuntu Debian. Either one of those two I think would work. Again, one Linux OS voice. Number 2, we need a marketing voice for commercials. I would love Arnold Schwarzenegger to do something like, I need Ubuntu, I need more power, or something like that. I think that would work. I'm just saying. Ubuntu power, Ubuntu equals power, buy it now, or something like that. I need So we need a celebrity voice, a mass marketing voice. Okay. Number 3, it's got to work. No bugs, just like my Chromebooks, no bugs. It just works. There's no maintenance involved. Updates are done in the background. It doesn't force you to reboot. So it has to work. Number 4, they have to be affordable. You can't come out with a new Linux desktop for the masses starting at $1,000, $2,000 or higher. Now you're into Apple Mac territory, and we already have that. So
Linux is already free. How much can you get cheaper than free?
Well, to download. But what about a quality standard where the poor
Now
nurse
you're talking
or
about
the school
hardware
teacher-
where the money's at.
Well, there we go. It's got to be affordable, right? Okay, so number 4 was affordability. Number 5, I think maybe the Linux community needs to stop its whining a little bit because if let's say it's based on let's say it's based on Arch. We can't have people like me who use Ubuntu. Well, why is it based on Arch? I use Ubuntu. Or the flip side, right? The whining is not going to help. That's just a personal observation. But if we can get, and of course you want to have a company behind it with the resources to pay the people, test the product, it can be done. It can be done. Look at the Chromebook. Highly successful. It hasn't taken away from the choice of using whatever Linux you use. In fact, I think it adds to the choice. And it would be great to have your aunt or uncle or my next door neighbor go into a Walmart or a Best Buy and buy a $500 Arch or Ubuntu computer. And then they call me saying, hey, Carm, this is the best thing. It's super fast. It was the great. Wouldn't you love to hear that? Versus them calling you with bugs and how do I fix this? How do I go into the terminal? Mom and pops don't need that, And that's why I think Chromebooks has been successful because I have never had to go into the terminal. I have gone just for curiosity. I've never had to go into the terminal in Chromebook to fix anything. That's what I mean by it has to work out of the gate. No bugs, virtually no maintenance. Just turn it on, log in, and good to go.
But that's the difference in a supported system too with a hardware manufacturer.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example is I believe I haven't looked on their site in a while, but Puget Systems also did Linux machines.
Yes.
And if I recall, they offered two choices, either Ubuntu or Mint.
I don't remember, but okay. Yeah.
And again, it may not be them, so I don't quote me on
Yeah.
that. But I know there was some company that made them, and
Yeah.
I could have swore it was them at that. And this is a while back now. Now whether that's the case anymore or not, I don't know. I don't know that as much as I'm on an Arch-based system right now, I don't know that that would be necessarily a good base system for a quote unquote national standard, because it's quite a different animal. Ubuntu, I think, is a little bit probably, if somebody did have to get under the hood, would probably be a little bit more user friendly for somebody who's a little more tech savvy, that could probably get help easier. And well, yes and no.
I don't
because,
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
the wikis are great
Yeah.
for Arch too, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about support,
Yeah, Puget's. I think it's Puget's. I think it's from Puget Sound out of Seattle, Washington. I think they're based
Yes.
around there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I actually did some research. It's a USA based company, and I don't know much more than that, but they did offer anyway, Windows and Linux. I think two of the problems was, number one, nobody knows them. There was no commercials. There was no marketing voice. And number two, those systems started at $1,000 or higher. Well, that's Apple territory. Not to blame Puget for that. I'm not blaming.
Well,
I'm just saying it's not going to work,
Yeah, the
So,
difference with their model, though, and you're
Yeah.
right, they are more boutique, if you will, type company, because
Yeah.
you're paying for their quote unquote lifetime support, meaning that anything that happens to that system could be 10 years
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah,
They'll give you a new computer, so
yeah,
you're
yeah,
paying for that up front.
yeah.
As far as the overall, like having like Dell or Lenovo.
Yeah.
Those are the companies that already have it and are not doing a good job at putting it out there. And that's I think what you're getting at. And it needs to be promoted,
Yes.
by those type of companies.
Yeah.
And the thing about why I thought, I don't know how many people would adapt to Ubuntu's GNOME right now, to be honest with you, especially if you're trying to get somebody to come from Windows. I think Mint would be the perfect
It would
choice.
have to be a modified version of like what I've done with some key extensions, like what Zorin has done, or even Pop. It would have to be modified. It cannot be standard GNOME, Joe. Right? It's just right.
Well, like what
Not for
System
new-
76 is doing, because the problem is, as we know, is if the system gets updated and the extensions don't, then you got a broken system again. And that's
Yes.
what the problem
Right.
with extensions are. So if you stick with something, that's why I keep coming back to Mint. Mint has been tried and true. It's
Yes.
been, none of them are 100% perfect, but
Right.
they are probably the closest thing to Windows. They're probably the closest thing for a fairly solid system.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, much like Chrome OS, or these Chromebooks, those are supported by Google, by the company. So if you get a company, these companies out there, and they get them on the shelves, I think a lot of these problems won't be there.
Well, even with Ubuntu, let's say that ABC company chooses the Ubuntu desktop. Pure speculation, but let's say they only have 3 extensions. My favorite are going to be the applications menu, drop down by the category. Okay. The second one would be the sound chooser, drop down for mic and head, from the right, top right, and maybe like the desktop icons. Now, if that's all they do and that's all they support, and that ahead of time, and that's all they continue to support, they'll never break, because they only deal with those 3 extensions, not the 500 or 600.
This is true.
There's only those. If it was, I'm not it could, for me, I don't care what it's based on. Chromebooks are based on Gentoo. I don't care. Now, is Gentoo for newbies? No, but I don't care, because I don't have to worry about that. Again, pure speculation.
Well, there you go with the Chromebooks. They're backed by Google, which is backed by billions of dollars.
Well,
they can afford to throw $1 million away here and there, as they have proven in the past.
I don't think we need a $1 billion company to get this off the ground. I mean, I'm not a Wall Street accountant. I don't know exactly what it would take, but I don't think it would take billions of dollars to make this work.
I think Lenovo would be the better choice, even over Dell, because Dell has really, in my opinion, gone downhill with a lot of their hardware stuff.
Know. I think they both offer Linux-based systems, but again, they're in the thousands, and it's That's a very
It-
Well, no, at that
boot.
point they could still do. I mean, there's four,
Yeah.
I've got a $400 laptop sitting here. That's what it was when I bought it. It was I probably
Yeah.
paid less than that on a Black Friday deal, but
Okay.
that's just that's got Mint on it right now. I mean, I've had I
Yeah.
don't know how many different distros on it, so they'll run them out of the gate. So my
Yeah.
point, you can do an affordable $200, $300, $400 laptop if you want to with
Mhm.
Ubuntu on it or Mint or
Yes.
whatever you
Yeah.
decide. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
they run them out of the gate.
Well, look.
Yeah, but then you're buying a machine that's got a processor and hardware in it that's 4 years old, and pretty
No,
soon it's going to be,
no.
No.
to make it cheap,
When
yes, I would think
I bought
so.
this brand new and put Linux right. I stripped Windows off it immediately and put Linux
Well-
on it when I bought it brand new. Now, yeah, it's probably 4 or 5 years old now, but my point is when I bought it, it still works right out of the gate when it was brand new. That's the first thing I did was wipe Windows off of it.
Right.
I see Ron is drinking wine. We should just call it the wine desktop. Ron,
No.
what say you?
You know, as you guys talk about
Yeah.
an ideal platform, be it Lenovo or Dell, I'm
Yeah.
thinking that both Lenovo and Dell, they've both made forays into providing machines with Linux, right?
Yeah.
Right.
For every one of those sales, it would be nice if they had kicked back something to Ubuntu or Mint, depending on whose flavor was stuck
Yeah.
on the machine,
Ubuntu.
just to help support that whole thing. Because where's the greatest growth for Linux going to come from? Windows refugees, people who are leaving Windows 7 behind, Windows 10 behind because
Sure.
they don't care for Windows
Yeah.
11. So
Yeah.
reduce the friction. GNOME was, this is going to sound horrible. GNOME was a mistake. GNOME is a mistake. GNOME will be a mistake. Okay, I said it. However, Mint with a Cinnamon desktop, that's the least amount of friction for a new user coming
Mhm.
from Windows 7, 10, or 11. And I'm thinking, it's almost like a no-brainer. Stuff
Well,
Mint, the Edge edition, so that it's capable of running on current hardware
okay.
because of the latest kernel. And just kick back some bucks to Clem and his gang,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Bob's
Yeah,
your
but they
uncle,
could,
man.
Ron, to that point, I don't have the Edge edition on my little workstation back there. I'm running the 5.13 kernel on it, and it's been running fine. I decided
Phenomenal.
to put that in there, which is what Edge is running right now. So,
Right.
I mean, they could run it with a later kernel if they wanted to. And when you talk about GNOME, I was thinking workflow because people come from Windows. But the truth of the matter is, if somebody's going to a Chromebook, the workflow is very similar to GNOME's in some ways.
Well,
Oh, is it? I've never tried it. Yeah.
Here's
It's browser based, so
Right.
as far as GNOME, modified GNOME, I think is perfectly fine. Like I have Ubuntu on a spare machine, modified with a few I think it's fine. Plain GNOME, Ron, no, that's not going to work for a Windows user. But modified with
we
a few
do a lot of
extensions, it's fine. Yeah.
we do a lot of complaining about GNOME and stuff like that, but step back and look at all the apps that they make and
Mhm.
how nice
Oh,
they
yeah,
are
the
and how
Node
well they
Foundation for
work.
sure.
Yeah.
Like Gparted
I love
and
everything
tools.
about them except the desktop.
Yeah, they can get
Just
all
the
the
environment. No,
they
you're
can
right.
get-
It doesn't
Right.
seem to make sense sometimes. Like on the top right on standard GNOME, you have like those three icons. You would think clicking each one separately gets you to like the sound icon is for sound and it's all the same. It never made sense. That's why one of my extensions is the sound chooser. So when I click that, at least like say I want to go straight to sound. I don't want to click drop down, go to settings from sound. I got to go down. I want to go straight to sound. One of the extensions that works is the sound chooser. Click it, sound drops down. I can choose this mic, my Fifany mic, or my webcam mic. It's right there. So that's why I said GNOME with modified extensions, not a lot, 3 or 4.
But I still think that's why I still think Mint's the better choice because
Yeah,
you can tweak that around if you get
probably.
if you're somebody that doesn't know anything about it, you leave it alone out of the box, it works fine. You somebody that wants to get under the hood and work with it, you can do
zero
that because
friction,
even
man.
as an enthusiast, okay, we put a few extensions in or whatever, but your hands are still tied in what you can do with that system.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
just short of going in and
Okay,
doing command line stuff and all that, and it's just
well, But here's the thing. My guess is if this ever comes to fruition and there is a standard Linux system desktop based on whatever, I got a feeling mom and pop, the nurse, the school teacher, the retired, whatever, is not going to go to heavy into modifications or terminal commands. That's my guess. They're going to buy it. It's a good price. Turn it on, get in. And that's why Chromebooks work and they sell, because they're not doing modification. You can, but that's why they sell, because they just want to get on and go and not spend time solving a problem. That's my guess. Of course, all of us here have tinkered, broken something by accident, do this, and it's been fun, and we've learned something. But the mom and pop who's busy with 2 or 3 kids, they're not going to tinker. That's not them. That's why Chromebooks have been selling. Speaking of Google, why not have Google, HP, Dell, and these other companies agree on a standard Linux-based system? They all got the resources, right? Why don't they just have a meeting of the 4 families, or whatever you want to call it, and why not base it off of Gentoo?
Slackware.
Oh, right.
Because the Chromebooks work. Look, that my cousin who's in there, she's not going to say, hey, this is based off of Gentoo. Hey, mind this. That ain't going to happen. You know, they're going to buy it. If it works, great. Because she would say Gentoo or whomever, right? I'm just saying. All of us here are thinking like experienced Linux users, but put ourselves in the mind of the mom and pop. I know it's hard. It's getting harder. What are they thinking? Oh, what's this called? Constellation OS. I'm just saying. It's based off of Gentoo. What the heck is that? Oh, look how fast this is, honey. Wow, look at the update. Oh, it rebooted like that. That's what's going to sell. Not
See,
the
the
fact,
thing is, now,
you know.
to your point, I have that friend of mine that my grandson and I built the computer for him a little over a year ago. It's going to be 2 years in December.
Okay.
And one of the complaints I had about Mint, which I know the Mate version doesn't, is they didn't lock the home icon, and he wound up accidentally deleting his menu.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was able to, over the phone. Now, here's a
Yeah.
gentleman that has Parkinson's, so you can imagine how hard.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
he deleted that, because of the the shaking.
Okay.
And I've been able to walk him through things, even the
Okay.
terminal, if I've had to have him do things. But
Mhm.
the reality is, I've been able to walk him through. Here's a guy that had no clue about Linux
Yeah.
until I put on his little netbook, I put Peppermint. And
Yeah.
then I put this on the machine we built, and he absolutely loves it. And he has no desire to go back to Windows. And he is not a technical savvy person,
Yeah.
but I can talk him through stuff
I
over
think
the
that's great.
phone, or like he says,
Yeah.
we can connect to my
That's
computer.
awesome.
Well, I've never really done that in Linux for as much as I've done this stuff with people, but there's a side to me that, yes, it can be frustrating, but I've done a live hangout with them,
Yeah.
or I've gotten on the phone app or whatever,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
figured out what it is that's going on, and I can see his screen,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it that way,
Yeah.
because then I can get him to do the things, and he kind of remembers some of this stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
there's benefits to that. I mean, even to the newbie.
But I just think to make
I know what
look,
you're saying.
you'll never get a second chance to make a good first impression. That's one of my sayings. Starting
Yeah.
off the gate, just keep it simple. Like the Chromebooks, open the lid, log in, and that's it. There's nothing else to do. When it downloads the update, little pop-up, you should restart as soon as possible, whatever. It's not forcing you, at your own leisure. It's out of the way. It's not annoying like Windows was with the forced stuff. Starting off, that's how it should be. Now, as the person gets more experience or wants to tinker, let's have a second version of a mom and pop desktop that more advanced users may want to buy or use or something. But I think something basic, Joe, just basic, 4 gigs of RAM, 256 drive, nothing fancy, about $400 or $500 just to get started. Give them like a 2-year warranty, maybe just in case they screw something else, give them like a restore disk or a restore USB with English and how to redo it, something simple.
Yeah.
But look, if Google or Dell and those powers that be can get together, form a Constellation OS company or whatever, They can do it. I know they can. And base it off of Gentoo because that's already been established on the Chromebook. Okay? It can work. You go into Walmart, you buy this thing, they'll realize how fast it is. You'll never get ransomware. I've yet to see any kind of malware on my Chromebooks. I mean, zero. Now, it's probably out there somewhere. I just don't see it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Mom and pop don't have to worry about getting malware on a computer. That's unheard of. But Chromebooks, because of their sandboxing features, like each time you turn that sucker on, it does a self-check. And if it's been affected, I think it tells you, hey, power wash this or reset it or something like that. That's never happened to me. That's wonderful.
The system that you're describing from a Linux system, then, to me, and it isn't out yet. And I'm excited to see.
Well, it should be.
Well, no. It is and it isn't.
Uh-huh.
I'm excited to see it when it comes out. Is the new Pop OS built on Rust?
Yeah, they're
because
doing
they're
their
getting
own.
away from GNOME.
Yeah.
I am anxious to see what that system does because a lot of what you just described is already in Pop OS that way.
Good. Well, there you go.
So, I mean, especially with the restore and all that. So it'll be interesting to see where this new Rust version comes out. And if they do that in this thing, that would be the perfect one right there. So,
It does look, I'm an Ubuntu guy. That's why I said Ubuntu. There's a lot of Arch, but it really doesn't matter. To the mom and pop, trust me, they're not going. Now, will the Ubuntu user care? Sure. Will the Arch user care? I totally get it. But the mom and pop, turn that on, log in, and this is all I have to do, honey. That's it. You're done.
Maybe
don't have to worry
will
about
follow suit with and get rid of GNOME and go
or get rid of GNOME, right?
Yeah.
Look, we've all been maybe a little bit too harsh on GNOME, but we call it as we see it. Modify GNOME is fine.
When I first saw that, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought, it was really cool. And it is still a cool system. It's just, it's not conducive to what people's muscle memory are.
It's not for beginners, no.
I would think it's a great option for like a kiosk use,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's kind of tablet-like.
Yeah.
Look, modified Ubuntu on my 4K TV looks great. I'll give them that purplish system, and I have some transparency effects on the panel and everything. It looks great. But I had to install some extensions to make it more user-friendly for me, and it's fine. I just wish it was a little bit faster, but, it is what it is. So, but look, I have to give Canonical, the makers of Ubuntu, credit because weren't they the first company to try and bring Linux to the masses and make it more use starting in 2004-ish? I think they were the first on a large scale. Now, here we are 20 years later, almost. Google has succeeded, it seems, with the Chromebook, and I just downloaded Chrome OS Flex, installing it on a 2008 laptop. Chrome OS Flex versus 2008. Who wins? Stay tuned for that one. But no. So the possibilities are out there. I think there is need for that, as Chromebook sales show. Chromebooks are, for me, are not enough because the specific software that I need and use, OBS Studio, Kden Live, you can install it on the Chromebook, but it's not going to work because there is no official software like that for the Chromebook yet.
Right.
The machines nowadays are perfectly capable to doing gaming, video editing, but the software needs to catch up, and maybe one day it will, but it ain't there yet. And that's why, because people will toss, you like Chromebooks, why don't you use that for YouTube? I can, but I can't do everything that I want to. That's the only reason why. It's not the fault of the Chromebook. It can, but the development of the software is not there yet. But if we had a standard, maybe that would change. I don't know. But I would love to see a standard where at least one system, any system, is all there. It's non-fragmented. Put that as a choice, and you can still deal with the rest with the 600 other variation distros out there for those who want to tinker. That's never going to go away, and it should not. But can't we have as a choice just one standard? Just one is all I ask for. Besides Chromebook, can we have just one? Anyway, final thoughts.
Well, an install standard, but still give them the option. Say, hey, if you want to try some other desktops, here are some options. You may run the risk of breaking a system, but
But look,
At least give them the option.
if a Windows user tries something on their own without guidance, or is given the wrong recommendation or the wrong advice, they install it and something breaks, that Windows user 9 times out of 10 will say, man, this Linux sucks. That would not be a fair statement. But if we had a standard that they saw their neighbor, Constellation OS, I'm calling it, and it worked great, but then they went home and downloaded Arch, I'm just saying, or Gentoo or whatever, and it didn't work, they can't say Linux sucks because their neighbor's machine is perfect, because that's the standard. But at least you gave them a choice. I know there are some who say, well, if you create a standard, that'll be the end of choice. How could you say that? It would add to a choice, right?
Well, the standard's already there. It's just people are not being made aware of it. And again, we mentioned it already. You've got at least Lenovo and Dell that have them.
Yeah.
But they don't put them out there in front of
yeah,
people and know.
Yeah.
And part
And
of the reason
System
is
76 has got, they have machines there, but people don't realize. I listened to the
But-
Destination Linux guys had an employee on their one of their webcast
Okay.
podcasts.
But-
She was explaining what the company had to grow to actually get to where they are now. They used to have to put all the keys in the keyboard by hand.
Okay.
Now they were able to get to the point where they get a machine that does it for them.
But the problem
there's-
is Dell's got their standard, Lenovo's got their. I'm talking just one system.
No, but
maybe
they're
based off of
Ubuntu.
Linux Mint.
You've got
across
computers
the
that-
board.
But they both have computers that run Ubuntu. That's what I'm talking. When you talk about a standard, they both run Ubuntu.
Okay, great.
So it's the same distro. It's just
Great.
let people know.
Yeah.
Because I think what's going to come down the line is right now with Windows 11. I know you're liking it or whatever, but I'm seeing a lot of frustration with people that
I am
with this
too.
right now.
I haven't seen it
And-
yet. Not yet.
and
I
Especially
don't
in the
use it every
gaming
day.
world.
But,
And it's-
real? Well,
and maybe
okay.
they'll
I
start
don't game,
listening
yeah,
more and more and tweak things. Like now they changed where you can change your browser a little easier, but you still have to go into all the other things that would bring the browser up by default and manually change it. The point is they may or may not give in with some of this stuff.
Okay.
But the reality of it is I think people are really starting to get sick of Windows again, especially Windows 11.
Then it's another opportunity for Linux.
It does run faster. That's the one common thread.
Yes, it
run
does.
faster.
I was stunned.
But running faster still doesn't make the rest of the experience good. And that's what you're saying the same thing about Linux. So if they could start getting it out in front of people where you turn on your TV and there's advertisements for it that show, here you have a choice. You want this
and make it fun,
Ubuntu
make it
computer
entertaining, right?
And show a little blurb of how it runs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It will pique people's interest. But until you start having that,
right,
this quote unquote standard, it's there. It's just not being put out in front of people.
Right. And well,
that's where
really
companies want to invest their money. They put their money where they can get more money.
Well, look, we've seen the very funny commercials for the Chromebooks versus Windows. They're hilarious. Windows with the spinning wheel, and Chromebooks you go and the Windows waiting, please wait, then this error. You see, it's freaking hilarious, and that's part of the reason why Chromebooks exploded in sales. But that was hilarious. But as good as that is, I'm still saying, Arnold, I need Ubuntu because I need more power. I think that would work, but that's just me,
Yeah, everybody in my family that uses Windows 10, they say they have to reinstall it at least once a year.
Wow. See, I've never.
It gets polluted to the point where it slows down and slows down. And a lot of them do gaming, so the gaming starts stuttering and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
And then
because
a fresh
people don't know how
installs
to
and wait
clean
and
out their
fix all
machines either. Windows has always been that way. And it's worse with Windows 10 because when they do a major release, they keep the old files. So that eats up gigs of your drive.
Windows
and
dot
people
old
don't know how to
folder.
clean that out.
Yeah,
Not only
you
that,
got
the
it.
registry itself grows into this big clump
That
of
can be clean
junk
too.
that just, takes forever for Windows to get through to account for everything.
Hence the Linux advantages. If we just had one standard across all the companies,
Even when in Windows, when you install software and you turn around to uninstall it, it don't all get uninstalled. There's junk left in the
bits
registry.
and pieces. Yeah.
Empty folders here.
Right.
And that's why these people say they got to reinstall it once a year, is because it slows the machine down till it's useless.
I don't know. Maybe all this talk is wishful thinking, but I still have
No,
hope.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you know.
Because
No.
just
Yeah.
look back,
Yeah.
look in your rearview mirror, back where Linux was. I
I know.
used to say a decade ago. Now it's longer than that. It's 15
I
plus
started in
years.
2006. It
Yeah,
was
me too.
nowhere.
So the
Yeah,
point
yeah,
is, when
yeah,
you
yeah.
look just in the last
Yeah.
several years, every
Yes.
single year now,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
these huge leaps, these huge,
Yes.
polished things coming
Yeah.
out, all these different features. So I don't,
Yeah.
now I'm not going to put a time frame because nobody has an idea, but I do think that we're in the right direction and we're already leaps and bounds. But the other side of the coin, though, too, is I still come back to, I say all this with some reluctance or hesitation because as much as I want to get more people on it, I don't want it to grow to replace Windows because I don't want it to be the next one with the big target on its back because it's already happening right now with vulnerabilities and hackers and stuff. Now it's already that in itself, when you think about it, Carm, just in the last 3 to 5 years at most, the vulnerabilities these last 2 to 3 years have gotten worse in Linux because it has grown in popularity. And
I
that's
say
what
so
I'm
far in a Chromebook, there's no malware or ransomware yet so far. But look, it's not that like you said, not to replace Windows, but as an alternative, as a choice, as a
Well, the beauty of it is
just a
too, like
choice.
even with this Chrome, I don't know if you saw Chrome 100 had a lot of issues out there, potential hacking vulnerabilities or whatever.
Really? Okay.
All the other stuff. They came out with a lot of new features, but it's the most major update that they've had in a long time.
Wow.
Linux had it patched almost immediately.
Cool.
And that's the one thing I will give the Linux developers credit for. They say, "Oh, you got to have a big company." No, there's enough people worldwide that work on these.
Yeah.
Especially the kernel.
Yeah.
That it's just.
I think we just lost Dan to malware. He just disappeared.
Yeah,
Dan, you still there?
malware.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
it's
still
the
here.
internet.
The invisible Dan.
Yes. Something in the registry whacked him
another
up,
thing to
but-
take into account with Linux, it's not solely built by a single entity. I mean, we get projects like Pipewire that come from them people, and that. Matter of fact, I got Pipewire installed in place of Pulse on this machine, and it works great.
Yeah.
You got the Wayland project that's trying to really come to light. You got all these little projects of things for advancement. And they're all from different individuals or entities.
Well, a few years ago when Mint had that hack, right away they started, a lot of these, of course, the people that wanted to take advantage of it, jumping on it was Mint. No, it wasn't Mint. It wasn't the distro that was the problem. It was the laziness of their password on their website that got it hacked. But they caught it in a matter of hours. It was maybe 200 downloads is all it was in the grand scheme of things.
So, all right. So can we maybe come to a consensus? Let's see if we can agree on a few things. Do we really care, like, if this thing is ever done and successful? Do we really care what it's based on, Gen 2, Arch, or Ubuntu in the end, if it works? Do we really care? As long as everything works out of the box, do we really care?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm still on the fence.
Okay, fair enough. Should we all agree it should starting off, it should not be more than $500 for a low-end machine with Linux. Walk into Walmart.
I think with Linux the price is doable.
Okay. And let's see. Maybe throw in a restore disk, no charge, or USB restore in case something breaks.
At the price of SSDs these days, they can put it right on the SSD.
Okay, fair enough. And
you put either a partition on there, or what I've done is I've actually imaged a USB and given it to the people I've done machines for.
Okay. And we'll throw in maybe a 1 year or maybe a 2 year warranty, like instead of a standard 1 year for that price, starting at $500. I think that's fair. Okay.
That's fair.
Okay. Well, there you go. I think we solved it. So we should be on the board of Dell or Lenovo. And because it's
personally, I think the warranty should match the distro support life, which is typically Ubuntu's 5 years. Other ones are 3 years.
Right.
The hardware is the thing that you got to look at the warranty life.
Right.
Yeah, you might be able to get a standard 1 year on the hardware. Support, you can go longer because that's the soft, but the hardware, I don't think anybody offers 5 years of hardware. Yeah.
What kind of
but
technical?
I will say this much, like on desktops, everything that I've ever built for somebody,
Yeah.
I have given them a warranty for my workmanship
Yeah.
But then I also give them like there's a difference between a warranty or implied warranties. This is where these companies make their money because on average, depending on what machine they have, most motherboards will be 3-year warranty.
Okay.
Most power supplies will be 3. The one I have in here is I
Okay.
think 6 or 7-year warranty. There are some power supplies 10-year.
Well,
So my point is if they got
yeah.
the warranties from the manufacturers, but then they won't make the money because if they sell these add-on
Yeah.
warranties, well,
Yeah.
it's not costing them nothing because they're sending it back and it's under the warranty from the
Yeah,
manufacturer.
I think to keep it simple and yet somewhat
Right, though.
profitable.
3-year, I think even a 3-year warranty is doable.
Tops. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe 5-year on the software, but just 1 year on the hardware at a $500 price point. Now,
Yes,
if they come
and
out with
that-
a higher one, then you you know.
You know what's funny about that? I'm
Yeah.
sorry to keep interjecting, but do you remember
That's
Windows
fine. Yeah.
Windows XP, the most challenging part to that back then was it was a good system, but man, if you got something wrong with it and you had the reinstall, you had to and try to put the drive and you call Dell. Now, to their credit, back then it was hit or miss, but the majority of the time it was a good hit.
Yeah.
Where Dell would support you and say, "Okay, I'm not supposed to do this because it's the operating system. It's considered software. We don't support
Yes.
but I'll do it anyway."
Okay.
So that's the difference. And if you can get the support, I think it's a selling feature to say, hey, you've got 3 years support on this operating system. That's huge. I mean, the hardware itself, I mean, yeah, if hardware doesn't, if hardware doesn't go out in the first year, it's going to last a while.
There's many ways to really market this. I just one last thing I would throw in a 30-day money back guarantee. Just to make the buyer look, we know it's new. We know you've never heard of Gentoo or Ubuntu. That's why we're confident you will love this. No questions asked.
Well, you're eating
just
up
don't
that
break
$500 really fast.
I'm just saying you got to make it
The
enticing.
30-day money back guarantee, though.
Yeah.
Is when you got somebody coming to a new thing, 30 days is not going to be enough to get used to it. And if somebody gets leery of it right away, they're going to think, oh, and that might make them more inclined to
Best Buy don't even give you that.
I think they give you 14
days. Buy anything
days.
at Best Buy, you got 15 days to bring it back.
That's why you want to make it simple, and maybe Joe's idea of a Linux Mint Mate desktop might be, or Cinnamon might be better than Ubuntu. I think 30 days. Look, person buying a Chromebook, they don't need 30 days to learn it, right? I don't think so. Make it as simple as the Chromebook. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Simple. Okay. I think we've solved the problem on a mass market Linux desktop. We'll see. I want to thank Joe, Ron, and Dan for stopping in for this evening. All the people watching this later, thank you. All the supporters of the Total OS Today Technology channel on Patreon and PayPal over the years, everything else. Thank you. Thank you. And I have a feeling that we'll probably do a follow-up to this. You can send all your hate mail to Joe. No, Joe, just kidding. Just kidding. Post your comments below, pro and con, all of it.
In Puerto Rico.
Just be civil. He'll be in Puerto Rico. No, I don't speak English. No. But post your comments below, pro and con. All I ask is that you be civil. And we'll go from there. And maybe this is not just a dream. That's all I have for this Linux A-Team. Truly some of the best. Not just Linux users, but friends. So thank you, Joe, Ron, and Dan, again, for joining me in this virtual coffee shop, courtesy of Microsoft's Skype. Not Linux, but hey, it works. What can I say? Look at Ron.
It's pretty rock solid.
Yeah, it's and there's no time limit. Hint to other companies. All right, that's the end of that. So if you came in late, just go ahead and replay it. Again, those of you who waited last night to watch it live, apologies. The Linux A-Team is not the the tardy A-Team, but we recorded it last night late. I edited it last night late and some this morning. It's a lot of work, but I think it was worth it. So anyway, I hope this adds to the conversation of Linux and a Linux-based system for all the mom and pops out there who want an alternative to Windows or Mac. and maybe they need something a little bit more than what a Chromebook has to offer. I love Chromebooks. I wish I could use at least OBS Studio on it, and right now you can't. You can install OBS Studio on a Chrome, but it won't work. So at least if I could get that to work, then I can go live on a Chromebook. Right now, it's just not enough for me. Yeah, Skype is very good, Don. The new Skype from Microsoft, and with I think with no time limit, is you really can't go wrong. I wish, I like Zoom and Google Meets, but I wish they would give you more. I think Zoom is 40 minutes, which that's not enough. An hour maybe with Google Meet, sometimes that's enough, but Skype has been fantastic. Thank you, Dan, Joe, and Ron. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.